To what extent do increases in human population affect the environment? In the early 1930s, the first CFCs, or chlorofluorocarbons, were synthesized as refrigerants. These were much safer refrigerants compared to the sulfur dioxide refrigerants used at the time, and so found widespread use in America after World War II. However, in the 1970s, they were found in the atmosphere. As to how they got up there, well, first they're emitted by our refrigerators up to the atmosphere. And then, due to a chemical reaction between them and the UV rays of the sun, they break down and release chlorine atoms, which break down the ozone layer, allowing those harmful UV rays to travel down into the earth. Another type of degradation is happening here on the ground, where increases in settlement sizes demand more housing, roads, furniture, paper, etc., and farmland, thus causing deforestation. These problems, and many more of its kind, are exactly what Margaret Thatcher, in her speech to UN General Assembly, and what Mark Montgomery, in his article on the urban transformation of the modern developing world, argued. The fact that increases in human population negatively affect the Earth's environment, environmentally, scientifically, and eventually futuristically. Because dramatic increases in human advancement also directly increase the damage they do to the environment. And so, for it has been scientifically proven the fact that the Earth cannot sustain this many people the way it is now. And so, that will potentially ruin the future of us on this Earth along with the rest of the life on it. However, there are still those who choose to remain ignorant to these facts, and dismiss it as myths, but more on them later. With the population increasing, the carbon dioxide emissions also increase, to the point that air pollution and cancer are the two leading causes of death in China. And so, as one of the world's leading polluters, the United States has a responsibility to lead the fight against climate change. How they can do that is to help develop better technologies that will be more efficient and sustainable. A bad example of this would be like pesticides and fertilizers, because those will eventually harm the marine environment and eventually the overall Earth's water quality. Better examples of this would be, cap and trade, subsidization of renewable energy, and reducing power plant emissions. But yet, that will only help, not stop the problem. And the way it is now is terrible, as shown on this graph. Because this is the total air pollution in the US. Here are all types, and here are their percentages. But the main thing here is that it all totals to nearly 800 million pounds, just in the US. And where does that go? Up into the atmosphere, and degrades the ozone even further. But even so, there is still no research that directly connects population increases and the ozone degradation, since ozone itself is very hard to measure owing to the fact that it's a diffuse secondary pollutant. However, population is still related to another earthly issue. Whether we have 500 million people or 1 trillion people, we still only have one planet, and that planet has a finite level of resources. One resource that we have all been unregrettably wasting is water. This is how much water has been wasted by just a running toilet in about 3 months, provided by Denver Water. If people actually consumed what they actually needed, then the Earth could potentially support a much higher figure than it can now. Speaking of which, the United States' massive reliance on fossil fuels damages the environment. Therefore, comprehensive policy that will defend both consumers and the environment, rather than responding to the rise and fall of fuel costs, must be made. An example of this would be to reject TransCanada's
Warning, sorry for interruption. Please send the following students to the media center.
Which is a pipeline that runs from Canada to the U.S. And instead, develop what we already have, wind and solar power,
Ariana Dory,
dams,
Kayla Dornhagen,
actually
James Finke,
the environment,
Chase Francisco, Joy Gill,
On another note,
Erlen
the
Hartman,
consumption rates of the government
Ashley
can be
Hearn,
more or less traced back to the
Aaron
consumption rate
Hennessy,
of the middle class.
Hannah Holscher,
To provide context,
Stephen
the
Jacobs,
average American consumes
Ben
about 3
Jester,
times the
Rachel
amount
Johnson,
of food she needs,
Madeline
and about
Kleinhold,
250
Connor
times
Lake,
the amount of water she
Serenity
needs.
Lawhorn,
That is
Kayla
caused by
Lipscomb,
the running toilets, running
Abigail
sinks,
Madden, Seth
waste of
Mundy,
drinking water, etc.
Catherine Nerlinger,
So, we need to
Kim-
follow
Kimberlyn
strategies like
Perkins,
what Denver Water
Julia
is trying to
Pitstick,
propose
Braden
its
Rective,
billboards.
Raul
Use only what is
Roca,
needed.
Dylan
Be like that
Satsker, Kyle
This will
Satsker,
be a positive step
Devin
towards
Steele,
environmental aid if the
Lawrence
just the
Wofford,
whole of America
Jace Talon,
will
Michael
accept
Tarter,
it, or even the world.
Tommy
But
Terrell,
if we were to
Madison
say impose
Bonhall,
that by the end
Gage
of this week,
Wagel, Tyler
people have
Wellbrock,
already been
and
adjusted
Ray West.
are used to
Thank you.
wasting resources. And so, if we take away most of the resources they need, then we need to consider quantity versus quality. At that point, it would be like taking away a bottle from an addict. Would they be able to go by life barely scraping on with the necessities, or would they have just enough to go on leading a full, enjoyable life? But there's no time like the present. Only time will tell. And right now, the population has increased to 7.6 billion. It could number 10 billion by the end of the mid-century. All those people will need to eat, just not the way they are now. The way food is being made, distributed, and eaten is in no way environmentally sustainable or even healthy. I mean, food, we might kill ourselves before we kill the planet. That's no joke, because right now, over 23 million people in the US have type 2 diabetes, including this boy, who's 400 pounds at 14 years old. But this is exactly what the World Health Organization has been trying to preach to the world's government, but they've been kind of ignored since the United Nations has only held 3 world conferences on population and development. It's almost as though the governments around the world are just now beginning to realize this problem. And so it's in the United States' interest to honor the international climate agreements like the ones at Paris, because those won't truly be effective unless there's US engagement. But now going back to the ones who still choose to be ignorant, a majority of them are Catholic. This is a legitimate Catholic website I found, by the way. They choose to be ignorant because it would otherwise go against their religion, right? And this religion is what they have put their faith in their entire lives. And so, to say we, God's creation, are killing the earth, well, that's... Therefore, the best solution is not the final solution, like Hitler's final solution, to say that all humans are parasites and so we need to have a mass genocide but worldwide. No. To better explain, I would like to have an analogy. Pollution, deforestation, climate change, i.e. Earth's current problems, is to society's current obesity epidemic, as humans making bad choices, is to humans making bad choices. Forgive me for how dumb this is about to sound, but we need to just take this problem a bit more seriously and make better decisions. To the world's governments, instead of focusing on petty politics and even pettier conflicts, we need to focus on environmental sustainability and develop better technologies that will be more efficient and, eco-friendly. Because politics and conflicts won't really matter if there's no world to have it on. While the rest of society that's facing the obesity epidemic, you're better off just eating less of the regular brand rather than eating more of the low sugar, fat-free diet brands. Because at the end of the day, those are actually worse for you, and so would hasten the obesity epidemic.
Okay, a couple of questions for you, Andy. The first one is, how did you handle the differing perspectives in order to reach a conclusion?
Yeah, so one perspective I obviously got was that of the majority of the Catholic population and those of, and the other very religious perspectives, because, like I said, their faiths go against what the facts are. So, yeah. So I had to put theirs, separate theirs from the rest of the ones I found, to like give my argument and then a counter argument and then solution.
Okay. And then if you would, go ahead and tell me how do you explain the level of certainty that you have about your conclusion, solution, or recommendation?
Well, I'm pretty certain that my solution will be put in place since it's already is in place. We just need to improve that solution more.
Okay, thanks.